Yeah, g'day YouTubers, Tinker O'Toole again, here with another video. We're going to talk about splitting this particular type of wood. It's red ironbark. It is very hard, very dense. It also has short fibre length. It's got a bit of twist in it, and it's interlocking. All those four things make this very, very hard wood to split. So in really dry areas here in Australia where we have our eucalypts and it's very slow growing, these are very dense. This has a density of 1120 kilograms per cubic metre. That makes it very dense. If you were to take Pinus radiata, it would have a density of 0.4 of a tonne for a cubic metre. So it is less, 3 times less dense, and a lot softer. So typically when we look at the density, the density is roughly measured at 12% moisture. And when we look at the hardest wood in the world, that actually also comes from Australia, and that's called bull oak. It has a density of 1110. It has a hardness of 16.7 kilonewtons. That is the hardest wood in the world. It's harder than Brazilian walnut. This particular timber is about 13 kilonewtons on the Janka scale. So if we talk about density, we'll just rattle off a few different types of trees and we'll give you the density. White ash 700, aspen 420, beech 800, cedar 520, elm 540, hickory 800, maple 700, oak 800, Pinus radiata 480, poplar 400, American redwood 450, Canadian spruce 450, sycamore 500. So what that means, all those numbers, if we're to take one, the hickory, when I mention 800, that's 800 kilograms per cubic metre. So yeah. Now here in Australia, all our hardwood, most of it goes over more than 1 tonne per cubic metre. So if we look at yellow gum, 1,200 kilos per cubic metre, yellow box 1,100 per cubic metre, ironbark, which is this one, 1,130 kilograms a cubic metre, red gum is 900 kilograms per cubic metre, grey box is 1,110 per cubic metre, and the grey ironbark, which is this one's cousin, it's 1,110 kilograms a cubic metre. So the four things, just to recap, the four things that make this extremely difficult to split, well, 5 things. It grows very slow, very, very slow growing. So slow growing, you're going to have very high in density, very short fibre length, bit of twisting in there, and a bit of interlocking. That's why this is very hard to bust open. Now what we're going to do, and we've marked this, we're going to attempt to split this one in the middle, right down the middle, which is a lot harder to achieve. And this one over here, we're going to attempt to split it about 3/4 of the way across. Now, these 2 logs was a log of just over 2.5 foot in length. I cut it in half. So these 2 halves butt together. So you're not going to get a closer match than that. And we're going to use a steel maul, not a splitting axe. We're going to use a maul. And last time, this actually timber is very close to the base of the tree, only about 1 foot away from the base. So it's going to be even more dense. A tree is much more dense down the bottom than it is up the top. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do, and I would definitely say that this one over here is going to be easier to split than this one, because this one we're going to split in the middle and that one we're going to split 3/4 of the way across. Now, only one other thing to mention is that when you're splitting this type of timber, you want something, a splitting axe, it's at least, or a splitting maul, at least around 3 kilos. You don't want to be splitting with 1.5 kilos. It's too hard. So try and get something around about 3 kilos. I'm going to use the Stihl splitting maul, which has a total weight of about 4.6 kg. So I think it's 3.3 kg on the head, and it's about 75 millimeters, or around 70 millimeters in length. The actual splitting axe would probably be over 100. So, and it's got a longer handle on the Stihl splitting maul than the Stihl splitting axe. It's 900 mils on the maul, and it's 800 mils on the splitting axe. So we should get good success, and we should be able to bust this open. Now, these are only small rounds. You know, if you were to go to something 2 foot in width, that's even going to get much more difficult. Now, normally I don't bust open all my timber with a splitting axe. I use a hydraulic splitter, but I like to play around. That's why I call myself Tinker O'Toole, because I'm always tinkering around in the woodshed or in the garage making something, or something to do with chainsaws. Always playing around. Gives me something to do during retirement. So hopefully this information, I can pass this on to the newcomer. And if the newcomer is wondering why their axe or their splitting maul is bouncing off the timber, 2 reasons. You really should be having an angle on the edge less than 45 degrees where possible, anywhere from 30 to 45 degrees. But generally speaking, 45 degrees will be good enough. When a lot of these imports come into Australia, some of them are around 90 degrees. 90 degrees is too much of a broad angle, and it tends to put a big dent in the timber rather than split it open. Also, the other problem is they're blunt. They need to be sharp. Reason being is that because of this timber is so dense, it's got fibre length is short, it's twisted, it's interlocking. You're going to need a sharp blade to start the splitting process. Once you start the splitting process, that's it. You'll bust it open, but you've got to be able to start it. And if it's blunt and it's around 90 degrees, it won't do the job properly. So we'll move on to the next part about the splitting. Look, I really want to draw your attention. You can see all these cracks here, but amazingly, I just cut this log. Look how wide it is. It's only about 1 inch, not one crack here. Moisture content is, if we actually have a look, see whether you can see that. That's about 21% there. About 21% on that side. It's about 14% on that side. So it's only lost about 7% moisture. Well, I find that amazing that you've got all these cracks forming here, and on the opposite side, no cracks. That's amazing. Now, what I wanted to draw your attention to, we'll just get rid of the rubbish off here, was also the cracking that you've got here. So these 2 logs here are brother and sister. If you tip that over and flip it, it'll match up with that one. But the shapes look different because it's tipped over. But flip it over, it's the same. But what I want to draw your attention to, if we have a look at this part here, you'll see this split here, that split there, that split there, and that split. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a little one there, 5. And if you look on the other side, have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if we look on that row, you got 1, 2, 3 splits there. And there you got 1, 2, 3 splits there, and all those little splits around there. And the same little splits around there. So if you look at this picture that I took in the top left hand corner, what I actually did, was take a photo of the one on the left hand side and a one on the right hand side, and I flipped the left hand side one so you could compare the two side by side, and you'll see that how they're split in almost identical. But that just goes to show you that the splitting doesn't go all the way through. That's only gone through about an inch. That's amazing. That I've never actually ever checked that. I'll just have another look at that for those that may be interested. Clearly there's the hole and there's the splits, and we'll just poke the hole through there, and then I flip this over the other side. Not even a crack. Look at that. Just a little tiny bit there, you may be able to see it. A little bit there and a little bit there. And the moisture on this side here, the dry side, was around 17%, and on this side was about 23%. So yeah, that's amazing. Now you can see how long it takes for timber to dry out. Okay, so last time when we busted open around roughly the same size as what we've got there, we used this one, and it took about 13 or 14 shots to bust the round open. Now, this one's, the splitting axe weighs 2.8 kilos, and this weighs 3.3 kilos. But with the extra ferrule on the head, the weight's a little bit heavier. I've got a head weight, total head weight here of around about 4 kilograms. So it's significantly heavier, and it should bust open the round a little bit easier. So what we're going to do with this one here, we mentioned it before, that we're going to split it right down the middle. Now splitting it down the middle is going to be harder than splitting it about 3/4 of the way across. So on the other one we're going to split it. So yeah, we'll give it a go now. We'll see how we go. Doing a bit of bouncing. Back up. This is really hard wood. It's starting to split now. Okay, that wasn't too bad. That was a little bit easier than the previous trial that I had using a splitting axe. So the splitting maul definitely seems to work a little bit better. So we're going to split this one. We're going to split here. Technically, it should split a little easier, so we'll find out. There you go. How easy was that? One shot. Proves the point that splitting on the side actually does work a lot better. Now, maybe that was a fluke. How about we try it on the opposite side? That seemed to be a little bit too easy. I was expecting a little bit harder than that. That's not too bad. We'll just split it again. Now clearly, don't split in the middle, split at the sides. Well, there's the end conclusion. When you see people splitting in the middle, you're going to have to put more effort in. And clearly, the steel splitting maul outperforms the steel splitting axe. Handle's much longer. And when you look at the striking, we'll just bring them over here on the log so you can see them a little bit better. Look at the difference in the length of the blade. So, conclusion is, the heavier the maul, a maul to me definitely splits and busts open timber better than the splitting axe. This was extremely dense timber. It's got 5 things going for it. It grows extremely slow. It's got short fibres. It's got a bit of twist in it. It's extremely dense, and it entangles, the fibres entangle with each other. So it's got a lot of entanglement. And with twisting and entanglement of fibres, that really holds the timber together. Anyway, I hope that video is helpful, especially for some people out there that may be thinking of buying a splitting axe or a splitting maul. The mauls definitely outperform the splitting axes. The only problem is they're a lot heavier and they're going to make you more tired. My advice is you buy both. Get the best of both worlds. The only other advice that I've got, this particular one has got a total weight of 3.9 kilo, and I think this is a total weight of 4.6, something like that. So it's only about 700 grams heavier, and even something a little bit lighter for your softer wood. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye for now.